Good morning, everybody. I've had a little bit of a challenge getting live here today, so we're going to try it on the iPad. You'll hear Sheridan in the background. She is chatting with her family this morning all over the country. So I'm going to pull up our questions. For those of you who might be new to this video, my name is Natalie, and I am an RN and IBCLC, so I'm an International Board Certified Lactation Consultant. I've got 3 kiddos of my own. Hi, Samantha, all of whom I have breastfed, and this group is really for supporting mommies and their families and breastfeeding and childbirth and all those things. So yesterday we posted whether if anyone had questions. I'll go over those questions first, and then if anyone who's tuning in has questions, you can always just put them in the comments and I will address those questions as well. This will be available on YouTube. I will at least try. Last time I filmed this on my iPad, I had challenges with saving, so hopefully it will not have a problem this time, but I will do my best to have these available also on YouTube. Forewarning, there are 7 children here, so if we're interrupted, it's because there's 7 kids, and it's mom life, so we're just all glad to be here together, and I appreciate your patience with the interruptions. Okay, let's see here. So I've got my computer here for our questions. First question comes from Andrea. Andrea, I hope you pop on or at least catch this on replay so that you can hear the answers to these questions. Thank you so much for the 3 questions you have. I want you to know, when reading through them, I thought, oh my gosh, I am so glad she's asking these, because these are so common of questions that I get, and I get to answer on a regular basis. Hi, Berlin. Hey, Lauren. So glad you guys are popping on. So Andrea, these questions are going to benefit a lot of new moms, so I am so glad that you are here and that you asked them. Hey, Amanda. So glad you guys are here. If you have questions, please type them in the comments. Otherwise, I'm going to start with the questions that we have from the post yesterday. Hi, Lauren. Miss you guys. The thing is just also odd. I miss all of you. The extrovert in me has a hard time not seeing all of my friends. All right, so the first question that Andrea has is 1, are spit ups normal, as in daily? Like, he's spitting up daily. Is this normal? Is this an indication that something is wrong? Is there any way to prevent or reduce them? I try to burp him, but oftentimes he falls asleep before I can. So, is it normal? The answer is absolutely 110% yes. Totally normal. Hi, Lauren. Ditto. I know it's hard. This whole thing is hard. So spitting up, there is a difference between throwing up and spitting up. Spitting up is the milk that's just coming right back out. Baby's nursed maybe within the last 30 minutes or an hour. Milk is just coming back up. It's kind of this little, and most of the time, it doesn't upset babies at all. They kind of just go along with their day. Doesn't bother them. Bothers us more than it bothers them most of the time. So spitting up is so common and so normal. I wish, and if Sheridan was here sitting with me right now, she would be able to speak to this more. Audrey spits up daily. Multiple times a day, almost after every single feeding. Sheridan carries around a large cloth diaper that's really absorbent to catch all the spit up. She has to change her clothes sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. She has to change the baby's clothes 2 or 3 times a day. And it's just this normal part of newborn behavior. And this is not true for every baby. And for some babies, it lasts for just a little while, a few weeks, a few months. Some kids literally spit up until they're 8 or 9 or 10 months old. Part of it has to do with the sphincter, the strength of the sphincter at the bottom of the esophagus to the stomach. Babies have a really, really weak sphincter there. So it's very easy for milk to just come right back up, especially if you have a lot of milk. Right now, Sheridan's nursing Isla and Audrey. So she has a supply that's enough for a 2-year-old and a newborn. So Audrey gets a lot of milk, gulp, 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 and kind of drowns, right? And then sits up and it comes up. Now, spitting up like that it's annoying. Like I said, requires a lot of extra laundry. It requires just a little bit of being aware and like catching it so that it's not all over the house. But it's not concerning from a health standpoint. The only time spit up would be concerning from a health standpoint is if the baby was not peeing and pooping. If it was actually like there's a blockage and everything is coming up and baby's not peeing and pooping and nothing's coming out the other side. If baby seemed really, really upset, like in an excessive amount of pain, a little bit of like, normal, but like screaming uncontrollably, excessive amount of pain, if their stomach was really, really rock hard, and they weren't peeing and pooping, like we would say, oh, there's something happening here. There's a blockage of some kind. Or if they're spitting up, like more throw up and not spit up, where it's like already way digested and it's hours and hours after they've fed and it's coming up, that could potentially be an indication of like illness or something else. But normal spitting up is normal. There are a few things you can try to do to help keeping babies upright after they feed, just to help that sphincter. If they have a big, huge feeding and you lay them down, they're more likely to have a little bit of spit up. So keeping them upright like in a carrier after feeding can be helpful, not essential by any means. You can try burping. Burping is one of the tools that's going to sit in your tool belt. So burping is not essential. A lot of times moms think you have to burp after every feeding, and that is something that was told and taught when we had formula feeding. Well, it still is the norm, but when formula feeding became really, really popular years ago, you have to burp a formula-fed baby because they take in a lot of air due to how a bottle is made. So a breastfed baby, however, does not need to be burped. So if your baby falls asleep at the breast or you're sleeping sideline and they're asleep, you do not need to sit up and burp your baby and potentially wake them up. If they need to burp or they have a burp in there, they will be uncomfortable and you'll see it. And then usually sitting them up and giving them a few little pats or doing the, I don't know if you guys have seen that technique of like holding the top of their body and their bum and kind of circling them around. When Sheridan comes, I'll try to show you with Audrey. Usually we'll bring it right up. And if they don't burp in like the first 30 seconds that you're trying to burp them, they probably don't have a burp there. So it's not something where you need to like work for 15 minutes to try to get them to burp before you can let them sleep. Like, it's one of the tools in your tool belt. If your child seems really uncomfortable, then you can try and see if a burp is what it is. Just like you would check their diaper and see if a wet diaper is the problem. So spinning up daily, absolutely normal as long as they're peeing and pooping. Not an indication of anything that's wrong. And you're doing great. Second question, sometimes when he's nursing, he seems to whimper like he's in pain. Other than onions, spicy food, or certain veggie, let's see here, are there foods I should avoid or include to avoid tummy troubles? We have him on a probiotic. We use gripe water, but I'd rather not depend on it. Okay, so sounds like that. Not concerning at all. It does not mean anything's wrong. And actually, the data that we have and research that we have does not correlate maternal diet with that kind of stuff in babies hardly at all. So I would say don't mess with your diet. Eat what you want to eat. Eat spicy foods. Eat flavorful foods. Eat all of the things that you want to eat, because our research and data shows it really has very little to do with your child's behavior. We try to associate things. We want everything to make sense. We want every single thing that they do to have some, okay, today we had a good day and they napped a certain amount of time, so I have to eat the same breakfast that I did and I have to do the same routine, and we walked outside for 10 minutes, which means the sooner you can let go of everything means something, or my child's behavior is somehow connected to something I did, the sooner you can let go of that with babies and infants, the sooner you're going to have some peace with just going with the flow. Eat whatever the heck you want. The cool thing about breastfeeding is that all the flavors that you take in actually go through your breast milk. So children who have a mom with a really diverse diet end up with a lot of stimulation for the different parts of their tongue, and they're more likely to enjoy those same flavorful foods as they grow up because they've been introduced to them. So you do not need to alter your diet, and it will not necessarily change that behavior of like whining and whimpering. A little bit of a whine and whimper does not seem at all concerning to me. I think we have to remember, babies grow so fast. I mean, if we were growing that fast, we would be kind of uncomfortable too. I mean, we sleep wrong for one night and my neck is sore. I'm getting old. But I mean, I remember just for an example, when I was in junior high, and I'm tall, right? I'm 6'1", and in junior high, I grew a lot over the course of 1 year. I don't remember how many inches it was, but it was a lot. I hurt. My elbows hurt. My knees hurt. I actually needed glasses for a short amount of time because my nerves in my eye were not keeping up with how quickly I was growing. I had to like wear knee braces to PE. I would reach for my glass of milk and knock it over because I was like not comfortable in this growing body that I was like unaware of my surroundings. So I hurt, and that was as a junior high, and I wasn't growing nearly as fast as you grow when you are an infant. So I think, are you guys looking for empty ones, or those are the colored ones? Do you want blank ones or underneath?
No.
Oh, I don't know where Winn-Dixie went. Sorry. So I think a lot of times the grunting, moaning, whining, stretching, all the things that babies do is not abnormal by any means. It's just them stretching and moving and feeling like, oh my gosh, my body, I'm growing so fast. If your child is in excruciating pain, that's a different cry, and you would know that cry, that like, just unconsolable, high-pitched, excruciating pain cry, and that would potentially be an indication that something's wrong, and you might want to like undress them and make sure there's no little hair wrapped around a body part or something like that. But even then, we think there's some data that says up to 3 hours a day of crying is normal for a baby. So it's exhausting. 5 minutes of crying can wear on you, especially when you're quarantined at home alone with your child. But know that like we don't even think of it as abnormal till it's over 3 hours of excessive crying a day. And even then we would probably just call it colic, and there's still not a solution. It's not like, oh, well now we get to do this, and this intervention. It's like, no, it's diagnosed as you have a colicky baby. So the stuff that's like the adjusting and whining, and I believe is probably just baby's growth. One of the things you can incorporate a few things. Once a baby is 1 month old, you can incorporate some light infant massage. You can look online and find great infant massage videos, and every night with some lotion, give them a little massage and stretch and rub. You can also consider chiropractic. I don't know what the chiropractic situation is right now, but a lot of times when babies are growing really fast, chiropractic can be super helpful just to get them readjusted. So those would be two things I would consider. But I would say too, having him on a probiotic right now is probably not necessary. You need to be on a probiotic. Every mommy who's watching here, you need to be on a probiotic. 70 to 80% of your immune system is in your gut. And the things that destroy your gut, antibiotics, sugar, processed foods, stress, poor sleep, and for most new moms, that is postpartum. I'm stressed out. I'm not sleeping. I might have got antibiotics in labor. I'm eating whatever the heck is put in front of me, so it's probably processed and high sugar, and your immune system is at risk when you do that. So you have to be on a probiotic. If you want information on probiotics, you know that that's something I am passionate about. I would love to get you more information. We have great specials going right now to help people get healthy, so let me know if that's something that you need. But you need to be on something. Now, when you're on a high probiotic dose for yourself, a lot of that will go through your milk and help your baby. So your baby does not have gut bacteria for the first, like they are born with a sterile gut. They are growing their gut bacteria for the first time. Therefore, they do not have immune system support from their own bodies for the first 6 months of their life. They don't make IgA. They don't make the immune system components in their gut until they're 6 months old. So they rely solely on our immune system to support them during the first part of their life, and actually until about 3.5 to 4, a child's immune system is not fully functioning on its own. So gut health is the way that you're going to protect your child with good immune system support, is through their gut. So it's important that we take really good care of our bodies, and we're on a probiotic ourselves. And I think for babies under 6 months, I usually do not recommend a probiotic, I really think they should be getting it through the milk. I really kind of subscribe to the like nothing in a baby besides breast milk for those first 6 months, and that includes like anything like a water probiotic, stuff like that. So if you are given a probiotic, it should be nothing but probiotics. So no, like the kids' probiotics often have a lot of filler, and that can be really detrimental to gut health. So one of the suggestions I often have for women who want to give a probiotic to their small child, maybe that is actually having gut issues, constipation problems, things like that, is to take like the probiotic we have is in a capsule. You can open it and it's powder. So if they're eating solid foods, you can mix it in the food, or you can sprinkle that powder on your breast and latch them on and get some of the probiotic that way. So it's nothing but the good stuff of the probiotic and no fillers, no flavors, things like that can actually be detrimental to a child's immune system. And just on that note, if you have older kids, they should be taking a multivitamin as well, but look at the ingredients of your multivitamin. Sugar destroys gut bacteria. So if you're giving them a multivitamin to try to help them to be healthy, but it has sugar in it, it's not helping, it's not working. So you need to find something that does not have sugar, so that it really can be super beneficial to your child's gut. So back to all of this, I don't know that he necessarily needs a probiotic. I think you taking one is important. I don't think you need to use gripe water. Some people think it really, really, really helps, but I would save it as like if he's screaming, hysterical, in a lot of pain, you've done the bicycle kicks, you've done the massage, you've tried all the things, and you feel like you can't even relax and calm down, that's when I would use gripe water, but not for anything minor. We once again don't want to be putting stuff into him that's not breast milk, and that includes meds. So I would not, I would not use gripe water unless he is absolutely hysterical. And for some people, they say they feel like it doesn't make a difference at all. It doesn't work. Some people swear by it and love it. So every child is different. You might find that it really works well for him. You might find that it doesn't at all. Let's see here. Let's stay on this page. So third question, I know hiccups are harmless, but he gets them daily, sometimes multiple times a day. Is there anything I can do to reduce how often he gets them or how long they last? No, the answer is there's nothing you can do about it. Hiccups are just a spasm of the diaphragmatic muscle that goes between your lungs and like your abdomen, and in babies it's really immature and so it spasms frequently. I don't know, I know I could always feel when my babies had hiccups inside, like when they were full term and big, I would feel this little, and it was consistent, repetitive. I'm like, oh, they've got hiccups inside. That's so crazy. And babies do have hiccups a ton when they are out of the womb. It is not a problem. It's not concerned. It's annoying to us because we feel like, oh, poor baby. They usually are not bothered by it at all. And they just grow out of it. Once that diaphragmatic muscle and the sphincter and everything just matures, they simply grow out of it. So there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you should do about it. Patience and time, and that will disappear. I don't know let me see if you jumped on here. Hi friends, I'm so happy to see you. Hi Shayna and Shannon, Sammy, yay, hi Ryan. Hey Emily, I'm so glad you guys are here. Megan, if you have questions, type them in. I'm just going to go through the ones that I have here, and then we can answer other questions. Sammy asks, so mommy's food or diet doesn't correlate with gassy, fussy babies. Like our data shows that there's not a clear correlation. Now, anecdotally, women will say, so this is probably the best advice I have for that. If you eat broccoli and your tummy grumbles and you have a lot of gas, there's a good chance that same thing's happening for your baby. But if you eat broccoli and you feel perfectly fine, probably not a problem for your baby. If you have a lactose issue and you have a big bowl of ice cream and your tummy's grumbling and you have a lot of gas and you don't feel good, there's a chance that your baby would respond the same way. Like we implant, right, our baby's gut bacteria and all of that, and a lot of their response to food initially with our breast milk. So I would say if your body has an issue with it, then there's a chance, not 100% guaranteed, but there's a chance that there's a correlation with your baby's body having a problem. But for the most part, we don't see any clear correlation on food intake and babies' gassiness. Now, babies in the first 3 to 4 months will be gassy. Will be, regardless of what you eat. They will be gassy. And the reason for that is that they're growing bacteria. When you grow gut bacteria, a byproduct of that growth is gas. So babies who have no gut bacteria to start, growing it like crazy, and a byproduct is a gassy baby. So a lot of moms think it's something that they're eating. They start cutting stuff out of their diet on week 2 or 3 or 4, and for 2 months they're cutting more out. My baby's still gassy, got to cut more out. My baby's still gassy, I got to cut more out. And they get to the 3-month mark and they've cut out everything except 2 items. And they're like, well, I guess I can only live on tomatoes and mac and cheese because that's the only thing my baby's not gassy with. And because the gas disappears, but really the gas was going to disappear after that's like huge surgence of growth of the gut bacteria. So there's very little correlation besides like anecdotal stories of people saying, I really felt like every time I had Brussels sprouts, my kid was so unhappy. So I just decided I was going to try cutting out the Brussels sprouts, and it worked. A lot of times if there is some type of sensitivity, a lot of times it is milk based or lactose, because lactose is such a larger molecule than the lactose we have in our milk, and that large molecule can really cause tummy upset. It's like formula has that large molecule in it, and that's why it causes micro tears in the intestine and really big issues with digestion. So if there is a dairy issue, that's like one of the highest likelihood is a potential dairy issue, but we still usually see that as like mucus or blood in the stool. And if your kid's really gassy and you're like, I'm just going to cut out dairy, and the next day you don't eat any dairy and they're not gassy, it takes 2 weeks for your body to get rid of the dairy that's in it. So there probably wasn't a correlation, because you still have, like, there's no way in one day that would be different, if that makes sense. You really have to cut all dairy out for 2 weeks before you potentially would see a change for your baby. So anyways, I hope that makes sense, Sammy. But yeah, eat what you want to eat. This goes for coffee too. Drink a cup of coffee, for goodness sake, mommies. If you feel like you need a cup of coffee in the morning, drink a cup of coffee. If you feel like you'd like to have a glass of wine with dinner, have a glass of wine with dinner. We can live life a little. We don't have to kind of give up all of those things when we're breastfeeding. There's not correlations to it all. Okay, let's see here. Amanda, I'm going to come back to your question in a minute. I just put my question in the post you made earlier. Perfect, Shayna. I will go look at it. Eat all the foods. Berlin says, I love spicy food, Indian food, Thai food. It's never bothered either of your babies, and they love spicy food. Yeah, my kids love spicy food now, flavorful food. It's great. Having that variety for their taste buds is wonderful. Yeah, Lauren says Riker was so gassy. Poor baby, it just took time and growth. Yeah, and it's hard. It's a hard thing to power through. But when we take it personally, it's really hard. Like if you feel like as a mommy, it's like you're causing this problem emotionally. Now, not only is it like physically hard just to manage the crying and the, needing to massage and stretch the legs and all this, but now it's emotionally like, oh my gosh, what am I doing to my baby? But take that part out. That's not a thing. Babies just have gas because they're growing bacteria. And actually, if you jump on a journey for yourself to increase your good gut bacteria, you might have some gas as a byproduct at the beginning of that bacteria growth. Happens to all of us. Okay. Okay, so Sammy says, okay, she cries a lot. She's 5 weeks. Okay, cries a lot, really uncomfortable, questioning gas or colic. I, of course, am looking at myself and my diet to see what would cause it. I ate raw salads for a few days, and it had her up at night. Cut them out, and it seemed to be better. Okay, well, if that's, do you feel any different? I guess my question to you, Sammy, would be, do you feel any different when you eat just raw salads and stuff? Like, do you notice difference in your bowel movements or difference in your tummy? If you feel like there's a correlation and you're like, I gotta cut out the veggies because I feel like there's a correlation, then do it. I'm just telling you, like, the data that we have doesn't back that. Anecdotally, moms will say it. But because there's not clear data on it, it's not something that I can say from like, hey, FYI, here's the list of foods that you should just avoid. It's different for every single person and every single person's body. So I would say it's a per case type thing. And if you feel like there's a difference, then roll with it and cut out some of that raw stuff, and maybe it will make it better. But if it doesn't, like if you cut out salads for a whole week and then she still has a few days of crying, I would just give yourself some grace and know that, like, not everything that not all of our child's behavior has something to do with our breastfeeding or us. This is why I need you in my life. Love you, friend. All right. Amanda, I said I'm going to go back to yours. Can we replay this? I want to show my heavy mom. Yeah, I feel like everyone's looking at me like I'm the issue. Yes, you can replay this. I'm hoping to have a link on YouTube, so it's just easy to send the link. But you can totally go into our group and save this and share it. Anyone who you think would benefit from this information, please send it to them. I would absolutely love for them to have it. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question we have here that was written yesterday. Anna asked, does gripe water work? Oh, I already talked about that a little bit. For some people, just like everything, none of us are exactly the same. Okay, so I have a friend who's a baby 2 weeks ago. Up until a few days ago, she was latching and nursing just fine. Baby takes now 5 to 30 minutes to latch. Both are frustrated, but once she does finally latch, she's nursing well. Any insight on why the baby is struggling to latch? Okay, and Ashley says, yes, hi, I'm the friend. Okay, perfect. I just want to add that I have a pretty bland diet. I had a lactation consultant check in the hospital for a lip and tongue tie and said that she was good. We tried different positions when she won't latch, and kind of reset in between tummy, chest down, skin to skin. I try to calm both of us. Yes, sometimes it works right away. Other times there's no effect. Any insight would be great. All right, Ashley, so there's a couple things that come to mind just off the bat. One, right around the 2-week mark, babies can have a really big growth spurt. Usually it's somewhere between either around 10 days or around 3 weeks, but it can happen kind of any time in that zone. And babies, when they're having a really big growth spurt, often act very uncomfortable. They often have a hard time getting latched. They may also latch all the time, and it feels like you're latching them like you just nursed, and you're like, okay, we're good, and you pull them off, and then she's and you're like, oh my gosh, and you're trying to latch again, and craziness, right? So that possibility, you're just in a growth spurt, and it's just gonna take a little bit of helping and coaxing and talking calmly to her. The other thing that pops into my mind is that we sometimes forget how truly connected our babies are to us. So she grew inside you for 9 months. She's only been outside for 2 weeks, has no idea that she is a different human than you are. Like, babies are pretty sure for the first 18 months of their life that you're one person. And then they start, I don't know if any of you have 18-month-olds who start doing the my nose and your nose and my cheek and your cheek. Wait a minute, we're separate people. But it's like they really, at the beginning, especially as a baby, we're one, which means they're very sensitive sometimes to our emotion. So when a mommy is really stressed, babies will be really stressed and on high alert. And I like to talk about, if you were to need to fly in a plane and you were sitting next to someone who was scared to fly and they were like, oh my gosh, we're going down. Oh my gosh, do you feel that? Did you feel that? We're going down. Oh my gosh, that you would feel that. And by the end of your flight, you'd probably be a little more nervous and on edge than you were at the beginning of your flight, whether you were scared to fly or not. You feel that, and that energy it's hard to separate from. So babies in the same way can feel that way. So when we have moms who, let's say breastfeeding is painful at the beginning, and the mom's like, oh my gosh, okay, latch, baby, come on, you have to latch. Or maybe baby's taking 30 minutes to latch, and you're like, come on, latch, why won't you latch? And the baby's like, why are we stressed? So one of the things I really try to encourage moms to do is, if you're having any of these kinds of problems where you're you can feel yourself getting stressed, is that we really get as many skills as we can to decrease that. That might literally mean handing the baby to someone else, getting up and walking outside for a second, taking a deep breath, going and getting a nice hot cup of tea or coffee, maybe stepping in the shower and taking a hot shower for 5 minutes and just deeply breathing and literally using some of those pain management or stress decreasing techniques that you might have learned in childbirth class. I'm going to relax my forehead, and I'm going to relax my shoulders, I'm going to relax my arms. I'm safe. My baby is safe. We're going to be all right. Let me get something to drink. Let me get something to eat. Okay, let's try again, baby. And being able to reset yourself can help so much. We see this all the time when women come to our in-person group. We have a mom who's like, the baby won't latch, they just won't latch. Look, they won't latch. And then they come to our space and they're sitting in a room full of moms who are breastfeeding, and they have Sheridan and I with them who are like, we're going to help you. And their whole demeanor is like, well, you're going to help me. And the baby goes, oh, and latches perfectly. And they're like, oh my gosh, this never happens. I'm like, well, yeah, but feel how you're feeling right now. Are you stressed right now? No, I'm not stressed right now because I know I have help. Okay, so this is part of it. Like, we have to be able to relax. The other thing that we have to do, especially for tiny babies, is understand their behaviors. So what I mean by that is, I'm looking for a baby doll and I don't have one. Babies try really hard to help us with breastfeeding. They have built-in reflexes that make them mammals that can feed. Even if we are laying there and unable to help them, infants can latch on themselves. So they have this pushing reflex for their feet. They have this pushing reflex for their hands. They have this back and forth rooting reflex, right? And when we swaddle babies, or we cover their hands, or we put them on their back and they're like flat on their back trying to breastfeed, a lot of times their reflexes are trying to kick in to help, but it only makes it harder. So a baby who's laying on their back, tummy up, and we're trying to feed them, which is the way we teach women in America all the time to feed their babies, which I'm sorry about that. We're working on it because that is not a position that babies feed in very well. But if we are doing that, there's a chance that baby's like a turtle who's been flipped on its back and its feet are trying to get grounded because they're grounded the entire time they're in your belly. Their feet have something to push against and they come out and they don't. So they're looking for grounding. Their hands are trying to help and they're moving back and forth. And if your baby is upside down doing that, it appears that they are saying no, and that they're pushing you away and they're kicking, and moms are like, this baby doesn't want to latch. I don't know what's going on. They're fighting me. They're yelling. The boob's right there, but they won't take it. And often all we need to do is flip that baby upside down, because when we flip them, not upside down, but like prone, face down, all of their reflexes make sense. They work for them. So this pushing back and forth actually is intended to stimulate the breast tissue. This rooting back and forth is intended to stimulate your nipple to become a little more erect so it's easier to latch onto. The kicking of the feet, when they're prone, they can ground their feet into your belly or into your legs and stabilize themselves so that they can nurse well. So if we're struggling with a baby that's latching, sometimes it's really tempting to swaddle them super tight and like force them on. But what we're doing when we do that is decreasing all of their ability to like have their brain make it work. So they can sometimes get even more frustrated and even more confused. And they're like, why? I just need to be able to make this work. So what I would suggest is no swaddle, no covering the hands. Put your baby prone, so lay back so that they're on top and you're on the bottom, and like let them do their thing, which might look like they don't know what they're doing, which might look like this bobbing and around, and but eventually babies can latch on their own, or you can help support them a little bit, like, support your breast, especially if you have a slightly larger breast and your nipples kind of pointed to the side or something. You can support your breast and give them encouragement to get there. But a lot of times babies have all of this like newborn reflex. Their brain is working so hard to help, and it seems like we're fighting them because we are not allowing them to do their normal behaviors, or we've got them like a turtle flipped on their back and they are like discombobulated. So I would try like upright nursing position, where you sit your baby here and they're, we call it an Australian hold, they're kind of upright, laid back so they're on you. You could also try a sideline position where you lay on your side and your baby is tummy to tummy with you. There's something very grounding about being on a bed for a baby, and then you have your knees bent like this so the baby's feet are against your knees while you're laying on your side, and you can pull them close and then they can latch themselves. So I would experiment with letting baby do some of that like behavior itself. I guess I don't know if I'm explaining what you feel like is going on, but I know that that's one of the things that can happen, especially around this early few weeks. The other thing that could happen is that baby could simply be uncomfortable and need an adjustment. Sometimes babies as they grow really fast benefit from a chiropractic adjustment, and they're just uncomfortable and they're just having a hard time. So the suggestion I have there is, like, let's say you nurse your baby in like a cradle position on this side like this, and they're comfortable and they latched pretty easily. It only took a couple minutes. FYI, it should take a couple minutes to latch your newborn baby. So if it takes a few minutes and you have to pop them off and back on and off and back on, normal, expected, that gets better, but you're learning. So it should take a little bit of time every time you latch the baby to get it right. So that's okay. But let's say you get a really good latch. It's not painful. Baby's nursing well. It only took a couple minutes to get them on. You could consider at your next feeding keeping them physically in the same position and just offering the other boob. Because maybe there's something comfortable about this position for them that when we flip them around, we try on the other side, that they're not as comfortable. So that's just a little trick you could try if you feel like, oh my gosh, baby had an amazing nursing session on this boob. Can I physically keep the baby exactly the same and just get the other boob into the baby's mouth? And see if it works. Let's see here. And you mentioned here that you have a pretty bland diet. You don't need to worry about your diet at all. You eat what feels good to you. If a bland diet feels good to you, that's great. But know that you don't have to cut things out of your diet. We talked about that earlier. I'm glad there's no lip or tongue tie. That sounds great. I love that you're already doing so many wonderful things. Resting in between, skin to skin, calming both of you down. That's fabulous. Your mommy instincts are spot on. It's exactly what you should be doing. The other great place to breastfeed your baby if they're having a hard time is in a hot bath. So you can also incorporate that in a couple times a week to just draw a really nice hot bath. You get in nice and relaxed, put baby on. There's complete skin to skin. They're prone. A lot of times babies, all of their instincts kick in and they will nurse really well in a nice hot bath with mommy. So that can be helpful too. Let's see here. Sideline saved your life. Yes. Sideline is the best. I love sideline nursing. From day one, a lot of times people are told that you can't do sideline until your baby's bigger, but you can do it from day one. Most of the time it's the best way to recover from birth and be off of your sore bottom. Okay, let's see here. Amanda says, hi, my kid is 11 months and I've noticed that he isn't interested in nursing and my supply has dropped a bit. I can't remember if I experienced this with my first son. And Amanda, I feel like you wrote again. Let me see if it was a continuous. I know my supply has dropped because I work full-time and pumping has dropped from 12 ounces to 9 ounces in the same period. I have changed my up to my settings a smidge to see if that helps, but no luck. Okay, so Amanda, my question for you would be, what's his solid intake looking like? Is he increasing his solids? It is very, very, very common around this time for a baby to increase their solids. And because our bodies are so amazing and our nipples absorb the saliva of our baby, take inventory on what our baby's body needs, and adjust our milk based on that, when a child increases their solid intake, our body goes, oh, no problem. Let me decrease volume, but know that like the nutrients usually are not any different. Like the nutrient denseness of the milk can still be exactly what the child needs, but their interpretation of the body might be, oh, this baby doesn't need quite as much milk right now because he's increasing his solids. Now know that this can go like this. So I've seen babies at 10 and 11 months who totally decrease the amount of milk that they're taking, and then they hit 1 year and they get on the verge of walking and all of a sudden they're nursing like a newborn again. And these moms are like, oh my gosh, this baby's nursing like a newborn again. I can't believe it. My supply is completely up again. This is wild. And then it drops again and then it goes up again. My baby's 15 months and they got sick and they didn't want to eat food for a week. So here I am back to nursing like it's a newborn. So know that like once you have established a breastfeeding relationship, like once you've made it past the 2-month mark and like you're established and you're meeting your baby's needs, your body can totally make these dramatic changes without any risk of like, oh, well, it's dropping now. That just means you're on your way out. Like a drop in supply means nothing to like, oh, that's the end of your relationship. Now I will tell you, when moms start to experience a drop in supply, maybe their period comes back. That's the other question I have for you. Is there any chance you're ovulating or you are having a period? Is there any chance you're pregnant? Those are other times when we see a change potentially in supply, is a hormone response due to ovulation, pregnancy, or period, which of course all shifts. If you're pregnant, like you make colostrum and then you go back to making a mass amount of milk when that new baby comes. And a lot of times moms will see a dip in their supply around their period and their ovulation, and then it goes up in between. So I would, ask that question. Is there any chance that it's related to you as well, like your hormones? But also know that there's no indication that means that things are like going wrong or that you're getting closer to weaning. I just lost my train of thought. I was going to say something about, gosh darn it. This is why it sometimes does lead to weaning, is that for some moms, they might notice this, oh my gosh, this decrease in supply. I can't believe the baby, I don't have as much. And so when they're with their baby and the baby's acting kind of hungry, they might start introducing, like, oh, I know I don't have very much milk. Like, I don't even feel full. Here, have a glass of milk instead, or here, have a snack instead. Or they start to make this assumption that they really have less supply, and then they don't latch their babies as much, and then it creates less of a supply, and they go, see, I couldn't do it, I couldn't breastfeed very long, I ran out of milk. And it's really that they just needed to keep latching their baby. Like, you can make milk for years if you continue to latch your baby, even if it's only once a day. So and let's say you went an entire year latching your baby once a day, and then something happened and you needed to feed your baby more milk, your body would ramp up again. So I would say I wouldn't worry about it unless you're having a issue at daycare. Like, if daycare is saying, we need more milk and he's drinking more and why aren't you giving us more, then there are ways you can try to pump a little extra on the weekends, or put a pump on one, like when you do see him at night, like you're nursing on one side and you put a pump on the other side and catch that milk as extra. But I would say if there's not an issue at daycare, if they're able to give him solids and give him the milk that you're pumping, and you are nursing on demand when you're together, then there is no concern. There's a chance it will go back up if he needs it to go back up, but it sounds like you're perfectly regulated to him and that he just doesn't need quite as much. The other question I do have for you is, what is your breastfeeding like at night? Because if we sleep train, that can cause a big decrease in milk supply, or if you are manipulating the nursing at night, that can cause a drop. Our hormones peak from making milk between 1 and 5 a.m. So a lot of times, once we get our babies sleep, like if we are sleep train them to sleep through that time, or naturally they start sleeping longer through that 1 to 5 a.m. time frame, we'll see a decrease in milk supply. So if your baby's doing it naturally, then it's probably appropriate that your milk drop. Your baby doesn't need feeding during that time. But if you are manipulating your baby's behavior during that time, and your baby wants to nurse at 1 a.m. and wants to nurse at 3 a.m. and you're not allowing them to, then there's a chance they want to nurse because your body needs the stimulation to keep up with supply. And if you're taking away that stimulation from your body, then you run the risk of potentially not having the supply your baby needs, because they're ready to tell you, I need more milk, and you're saying, no, I'm not going to let you nurse. So in those cases, you either need to let your baby nurse, or not worry about the drop in supply, or pump during that time, which most moms don't want to get up in the middle of the night and pump. They would rather just nurse their babies. So those would be the other things I guess have questions for about. Let me see if you're on here and answering any of these questions I'm throwing at you. I don't think so. Let's see here. Ashley, you can always message us and let me know if any of this is resonating with you and is making sense, or if you think there's something else going on, and we can totally chat. But it sounds pretty normal, and we'll grow out of it. Let's see here. No, seems not grow out of it. I'm sorry. I jumped back to something else. It was Amanda who asked that question. Ashley was the one who asked this question. Amanda, I'm so sorry. Are you on here? Amanda's who we were talking to. I don't see any other comments from Amanda. So Amanda, I'm just curious if he's taking more solids, and I wouldn't worry about it unless, like I said, there's an issue with daycare or something, whoever's watching him. But let me know, Amanda, and I'd be happy to help if there's any more we can talk about. Berlin. Hi, Stephanie. Oh, I'm so happy to see you guys all here. Sideline saved me, yes. Sammy, how much baby acne rash cheeks is normal? Started with the acne and now has, cheeks are dry and bright red rash. I don't remember the boy's cheeks being this red this early. So very normal at the beginning. Sometimes that baby acne are like skin rash stuff can last for months. Just recently, Audrey's skin has started to clear up. We're like so excited. We're like, oh, we're going to start taking more pictures. I'm just kidding. But and she's just over 6 weeks. So it is a response to maternal hormone. So there is some thought, I believe there's some thought that sometimes skin is different with boys and girls just because of the hormone shifts that happen. But baby acne is kind of a result of maternal hormones and the baby working through maternal hormones. So it's very common. My biggest suggestion would be just to not mess with it, which is so hard. Don't touch it. Don't put anything on it. A lot of times we're really tempted to like lather the baby when they have dry skin, like lather them up with lotion. But what that does is it interrupts the baby's natural oil making ability. It's like if the body knows that the skin is dry, the body's going to increase its oil and like its moisture. But if we are doing that from an outside and the skin's really dry, but we're putting lots more moisture on, there's a chance that the body's response to that will be to, oh, we got too much moisture here, and make your skin more dry. So we really want to avoid doing too much, especially for small babies, like nothing with fragrance. We really want to try to avoid doing too much lathering of lotions and things like that, because we really want their body to find their balance with their oil glands before we interrupt that by adding something else to the mix. So I would say it's a matter of being patient. You can always put breast milk on her skin. It's also part of just the gut stuff, like gut development. It shows it on the skin. So like when people have major acne as an adult, it's often a gut related issue, hormone related issues. Sometimes things like psoriasis and eczema are gut related issues. So once we start healing the gut and more good bacteria is growing, we see a resolution in skin stuff. So I think that's part of the reason why babies have wonky skin at the beginning, is because they are growing their gut bacteria. But I would say it's not super abnormal at this point in time, and I would just be cautious with what you're putting on her skin, so that we really want to encourage her body to like regulate itself on its own. So I don't know if that answers your question, Sammy, but that would be my 2 cents. If it's really bad and like feels like it's continuing to get worse and like you are like, what the heck, you could always take pictures, send them to a dermatologist to get their 2 cents. The hard thing with skin issues is that a lot of times we really don't know what's going on. They're kind of a mystery, especially when it comes to kids. And I'll just give you one quick example. Kylie, when she was little, had this bizarre rash on her hand, and it was not itchy. It did not seem to bother her at all, but it was there, and it would change like how like its shape and whatever. We tried all sorts of things, natural remedies, coconut oil. We tried steroid creams like from the pediatrician, and it was just there and not bothering her, but like bothered me. Like, what is on your arm? What is that? And so we finally decided, like, let's just take her to the chiropractor, because none of this other stuff is working. And I refuse to put topical steroids on my kid, especially if they're not working. Like, it's one thing if you can see a difference and it's working, but like they weren't working. I'm not putting meds on my kid and they're not even working. So we decided to go to the chiropractor, and this was the first time we ever had an experience with childhood chiropractic. I was very skeptical. I didn't really understand it. I was worried about the cracking and popping and all the things I thought of as chiropractic. And we went, and the chiropractor was amazing and super gentle and said, oh, wow, she has a really big misalignment right across the area in her back that connect all the nerves down her arms. He literally adjusted her, and in a day and a half, her rash was gone. And it had been there for over a month. And I went, interesting. I don't understand chiropractic. I still don't really understand it that well, but there was something about her lymph flow or her circulatory flow or something that was just causing this like disturbance. And when she was adjusted, it literally disappeared. And so take that or leave it. It was anecdotal, but it was interesting because skin stuff is so weird, and we tend to just jump straight to like antifungal cream or something that has a steroid in it or meds when it's so hard to know. It's so hard to know with skin stuff. So I would say watch it. If it seems like it's really getting worse, you could consider putting things on it. Coconut oil is a great kind of low risk thing to put on. Yeah, I would say really normal at the beginning. It's just hard not to pick at it and think it's, it's so easy to want to be like, let me just, but it should disappear within the next couple weeks, I would assume. Okay. Nursing positions. Oh, for my online class. Oh yeah. So mommies who are on here, I am working on putting together an online breastfeeding class, since especially right now we have a hard time getting together. Really targeted to pregnant women who want to learn more about breastfeeding before their baby arrives. So if you have specific topics that you would have loved to have in class, or maybe you took a class and you thought this was so helpful, or things you've learned in group that you feel like, new moms need to know this, I would love to know what those things are as I work on this curriculum right now. My goal is to have it be an online self-paced course that moms could purchase and go through with their family and learn about breastfeeding, and then help them get connected to our group here so they could jump on and, enjoy asking questions and connecting with all of you. So if you have specific topics, please let me know. So much of breastfeeding is really personal, but there are some general things that I think are worth putting in a class. And then, for the personal questions, I can do one-on-one stuff and answer those. So anyways, that's what I'm working on right now. I'm also working on a non-pharmaceutical pain management course for women who are potentially looking at like home birth instead of hospital birth. With all of this that's going on, we have a few friends that have decided to shift their birthing plans and are feeling like they need something to help them with knowing kind of what to expect in a home birth and pain management. So that's the other thing I'm working on right now. Also, side note, I've been wanting to do classes, especially through the community carriage house, for a long time now. It was part of our initial plan a year ago, but we felt like we needed to take it one step at a time, and then Sheridan got pregnant, and we've just been putting the classes on pause for a while. And I finally decided no more pause. I just need to do it. It doesn't matter how perfect the video is or how beautiful the graphics are. I just need to do it. I need to put something out there that moms can provide benefit to women in our community. And I literally was in the middle of telling my husband, okay, I'm going for it. We're stuck out here in Porterville. This now's the time. I'm going to do this. And I started telling him about my dream for our classes through the community carriage house, and my phone started to die. Oh my gosh, am I back? I've been walking around the house trying to get a better connection. Okay, so I went to plug my phone in, and it literally sparked, smelled like electrical burn, and stopped working. So I don't have a phone. Thankfully, I have this iPad. So if you've texted me, that's why I have not gotten back to you. I have no phone. I won't have a phone until probably Tuesday. But I'm like, man, the devil is working hard. I finally get excited about taking a step to really providing content for women, and my phone almost explodes when I'm trying to tell my husband. And then I try to tell you guys, and my internet cuts out. So, devil, stop it. He's working hard, but you can't get me down. It was a rough February. It was a little bit of a rough March. Can't get me down. We're going to make this thing happen anyways. Okay. Sorry. So that was a side note. And I'm now with the baby. You woke up. You want to say hi to everybody? She started smiling. It's the best. You want to say hi to everybody? Look, her skin's getting better. I'll have to show you a comparison at some point in time, but her skin's getting better. You say hi. You probably won't smile for yourself yet. She waved though. Hi. All right. Okay, let me see here. Going down. Sorry, guys. A little side note. Shannon says, my baby doesn't like my right breast. I always offer it first, but he latches but won't continue to eat. Left breast has no issue. So my first question for you, Shannon, would be, what position are you holding him in? And maybe it's a positional thing. I mentioned earlier that one of the techniques we can use, let's say baby nurses really well like this, is trying to keep the baby exactly the same and just switch him to the other boob and see if the latching is better. Because there's a chance it's positional discomfort. Like, you know, when you sleep funny and like your neck gets tight and like you can't look this way, but you can turn this way just fine. Like babies can have that kind of stuff happen where they just are tight. And so like maybe nursing on one side feels really comfortable, but nursing on the other just doesn't. And so he's like, I can't, it just doesn't feel good. So I would try like getting sneaky, whatever position he nurses on the left in, keep him in exactly the same position, and then he, in the exact same position, and then move to the other breast. Oh, well, hi. Yeah, I see you looking at me and smiling. And see if it works. And if that's the case, if you feel like, oh, wow, that kind of worked, I would consider an adjustment. I know I've talked about chiropractic a lot this little chat, and I don't know that there's any chiropractic open right now, but if it could be just an uncomfortable misalignment. Other than that, the only other thing that kind of could happen, I don't know how old your baby is, and I don't think that this is the case, but just a fun fact, one of the things we do know is that when a breast is not drained as frequently, like let's say you feed a ton on this side and this side not nearly as frequently, and you can't feed a baby on one breast alone. So if you felt like, man, this is really annoying on the right, it just drives me nuts, but I have a ton of milk on my left, you could just feed on the left for the entire existence of the child and be totally fine. So you could bail on it altogether. But if you wanted to not bail on it altogether, then yeah, I would continue to keep offering. You could always start on the left to the good side, get a little bit of a snack in, and then move to the right. But the thing that I was going to say before is interesting is that when a breast sits and it hasn't been drained for a long time, there's belief that sometimes the salt content can actually increase, or then it can taste a little bit saltier. So I don't, like I said, it's not like the reason like, oh my gosh, my baby won't take my boob because my milk is too salty, but it is interesting to think about, like if you're really consistently nursing on one side and like only once a day you're moving milk on the other side, there's a chance it could just taste different. And maybe there's a preference, depending on the age of your baby, they might have a preference. If they're little, that's not a thing, but if they're older, my son has a preference. He for sure comes up and tells me what side he wants to nurse on, and that it tastes different sometimes. And I don't know. I don't drink my own milk enough to know. All right. Okay. Oh, Amanda answered. My internet went back. Okay. We nurse at night, and the daycare seems okay with the milk, and he's eating a lot of solids. Perfect. I'm so glad it sounds perfect. Is it okay to breastfeed after surgery, or do I have to pump and dump and wait till... Oh, no, you can breastfeed after surgery. Great question. I recently had surgery and breastfed right after surgery too. So you're going to potentially hear from doctors that you need to not breastfeed after surgery, and I would ask why. Like what is it? Why is that? And part of the reason a lot of times we get recommended to not breastfeed with certain medications or after surgery is simply because we do not have a lot of data and research on it, because it's very unethical to do research on pregnant and breastfeeding women. So a lot of times it's just like this safer, like, oh, well, it's just a safer, just don't do it. And they say that without knowing what a breastfeeding relationship entails. They say that without realizing, like, this could be a nightmare for this mom to try to spend 24 hours not nursing her baby. Like, this could be really hard for the connection of her and her child. This could be awful for that child's immune system. If that child has to get formula during this 24 hours, then it's really bad. Like, milk, breast milk, even with some small amount of medication from a post-op situation, is exponentially better for a child than formula, if that's the alternative. So we have babies feed right after a cesarean delivery, right after general anesthesia. Once you are out of general anesthesia, you are no longer under the effects of those meds. So there's not like a side effect or like, hi, have you been helping me? Your mama came back. Huh? Just a little while ago. My internet went bad and I came over here and then she started.
Oh, sorry.
No. Don't say sorry. I was just telling him about how much better her skin was. And we had a lot of like, is my baby spitting up all the time? Is that normal? I'm like, Oh, is it?
Unfortunately.
So anyways, anesthesia meds are not a problem. My husband does anesthesia. That is his profession. He's a CRNA, so he's a nurse anesthetist. We talk about it a lot. It is not a problem post-anesthesia. with breastfeeding. Pain meds are not a problem with breastfeeding. The bigger problem is that you just need to not be caring for your child if you're post-op, but the meds are not a problem. We put women on heavy hitting meds after a cesarean delivery or in the ICU and still have them breastfeed their brand newborn babies. So I would say very safe to breastfeed after surgery. There are a couple meds that are not safe to breastfeed after: chemotherapy meds, radiation, and that's, there's a few. Hey, buddy. But not surgical meds, and not like antibiotics or pain meds or anything like that. So if you have a specific med that you're worried about, you can let me know. But for the most generally speaking, do not pump and dump. Breastfeed your baby. All right. I mean, who wants to be pumping when you're post-op anyways? That just sounds hard and exhausting. Okay, we talked about Penny sleeping long 5 to 6 hour stretches at night. It's still going on, and I'm very concerned about me getting my period back. Last night I was having cramping, and I don't want it back so soon. I'm scared I'll drop my milk supply. Okay, Penny is in deep sleep in the middle of the... Okay, I'm back, sorry. Okay, changed her. She was knocked out. I was able to dream feed her. She normally won't, so it made me feel better, but if I hadn't tried, I get worried how much longer she'd sleep. She dream fed at 1 and slept until 6, and then was up again at 9. Anything I can do to try to prevent my period coming? Oh, it's so hard, Berlin. I mean, you could get up and pump. You could nurse Noah more. Berlin's baby's sleeping a lot at night, and she's worried about her period coming back.
Worried about getting pregnant again, or what?
No, just doesn't want her to cycle back. Just doesn't want. She's worried that getting her cycle back will drop her supply, like the hormone shift will drop her supply some, and so she's just worried about that. But
That's not. I mean, you can't control when your period comes back, even if your baby doesn't sleep through the night. Because a lot of people get their period back regardless, and your supply won't drop unless it's just a natural drop during hormone swings. But you're not gonna not make enough.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear her, Berlin.
Oh.
She was saying, yeah.
Sorry. I don't think there's a ton you can do to control when your period comes back. Even though if she were nursing more, it would be more likely that it wouldn't. But if it does come back, a lot of women get their period back without their baby sleeping through the night. I know my body was really came back as soon as my daughter slept through the night, right away. So some women, you can know that it's coming, but there's not really much you can do, I don't think, about it. I mean, you can try dream feeding, maybe, but if she's too deep sleep, doesn't want to, then if you get it back, you'll be able to nurse. Shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, that's what she was saying. Yeah, is that it's not going to change your supply. It's not. You might have hormone dips, due to dips in your supply due to your hormones, but it doesn't mean you're not going to be able to make enough milk.
Right.
And I'm still holding on to the fact that I think this pattern is not going to last forever. I think, and there's a chance you could get one cycle and she could start ramping up her breastfeeding, and that could shift again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she's going to be a kid who sleeps 5 and 6 hour stretches all night long forever. She might, but
she might. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Audrey sleeps so good at night too, and I just don't know when she nurses. But I would just encourage you to sleep when she sleeps. I mean, I know that that's a cliche, but it's it's so important for your immunity, and so important for just getting good sleep in general. Is just good for overall health. Really, really important. So even though it might suck if if your period comes back, I think it's good to just take advantage of the sleep while you can, not worry too much.
Yeah, good advice. I like it. All right, let's see here. See if there's anyone else who has questions. Kathleen, thanks for your encouragement and suggestions for the mommy. Yes, good. Okay, got it, Lauren. Perfect. Berlin's moms. Dr. Nate is taking appointments. Oh, thank you so much for throwing that out there, Berlin. We talked a lot about chiropractic earlier. Hi, kids.
It's been an hour too. So.
Oh, okay, perfect. So yeah. All right, so Alicia, oh yeah, get your gallbladder surgery. Just do it.
Do you know where my cousins
You
are?
don't. I think they're outside.
Sweetheart, she's doing a work thing.
Yeah, I don't know where they are. I thought they were outside. Oh, how odd. Sorry, can't find the kids. They're around here somewhere. So yeah, I know. I would, Alicia, just get your surgery. You don't need to put it off for breastfeeding at all. You can nurse her right before you go in for surgery and literally post-op. Not a problem. Birth control. What can I take while I'm breastfeeding? Baby is 7 weeks. I want to breastfeed for a year at least, but I don't want any estrogen due to potential blood clotting disorder. No signs of period yet. I started 6 months with the first baby. I'm a big fan of barrier methods. I know it sounds like old school, but like diaphragms and like barrier methods as opposed to hormonal stuff. So I mean, mini pills are like the thing that they say is safest for breastfeeding. If you don't want anything hormonal, you could do like an IUD. That's like a copper IUD, doesn't have hormone, but IUDs I feel like are great if you're sure for the next like 5 years you don't want a baby. But if you think there's any chance you do want a baby, I would hesitate to do anything that's like that permanent into your body. There's shots, but those are hormone related. So I would start looking at like natural family planning. Like, can you track your body? Do you know your ovulation well? Can you track it with your temperature, your cervical mucus, those types of things? And can you find a barrier that fits? Can you get a diaphragm fitted? Can you use some type of like fem cap, something like that would be a barrier, would be my suggestion. That's what feels always safest to me, is a barrier that's not messing with hormones. I don't know if anyone has any other suggestions. Sorry, the video keeps skipping. My internet keeps going in and out, but I am gonna go fix lunch for the kids. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope this felt helpful and educational. And once again, if any of this information is helpful to you, please share it with someone. If you are finding this on YouTube and you are not sure who we are, we do have a Facebook group called the Community Carriage House, and you're more than welcome to join us there. And then you can ask your questions live too. Thanks so much for joining me. Stay safe, everyone. Please take a probiotic, increase your vitamin C, wash your hands a lot, and keep breastfeeding your babies. Keep breastfeeding your babies. You are their immune system. Please breastfeed your babies. All right, friends. I'll talk to you guys later.